talk about your limiting beliefs and do an NLP exercise to help you really decide today to get into that state of change.
Awesome.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the biggest limiting belief that I feel like, and that you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the limiting belief that you feel like you're not worthy or you don't deserve success, total success and happiness, right? Is that, would you say that that's a major limiting belief?
Yeah, absolutely.
In all areas?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And you said that kind of emerged from growing up, you know, from growing up with your parents and family members. They kind of weren't very successful. So if you were the smart one, the one that was successful, you might be kind of frowned upon or treated differently or whatnot.
And I think also realizing that my grandmother modeled for my mom, and therefore they both modeled for me, that their personal success was not as important as giving to other people or lifting up other people. And so if they got stepped on in order to uplift other people, even if they weren't uplifting other people, but trying, that was more important. And so that combined with not wanting to rise above them, like those two things, just like locked in for me that I should not succeed.
Okay, good. So what I want you to do for me is we're gonna compare the pros and cons, right? But we're gonna do it in a very emotional way.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is you're gonna get in a very depressed state for a minute, but then you're gonna get in a really happy state. And what I want to show you is how to yeah, just in case. By the way, that's a really, really important positive anchor. So we're gonna use that too in the next session. So okay, so but remember that you have absolute control of your feelings and emotions and your state of mind. That's what I want, the most important thing to get out of this is too, is that you can actually control it and you can change it in a second.
Yes.
Okay? Okay, good. So let's take this journey. Ready? Okay, so what I want you to do is close your eyes for me. Good. And what I want you to do is you're going to imagine yourself going through a street. So you're walking down along a street, a path. And on this path, you see a fork in the road. And on the right-hand side is success. And that is the success, it's the life that you feel like is just within reach, but it's all the good things that you can have if you overcome this limiting belief. Okay? Now the road on the right, or sorry, on the left, the road on the left is the negative path, right? That's the low road, we'll call it.
Okay.
Now the low road represents the road that you'll take if you continue to stay on this path. The path of holding these limiting beliefs, the path of holding this low self-esteem or low regard for yourself, the path of holding the belief that you don't deserve happiness or you don't really deserve success or you don't want to succeed or you don't think you should. Right? So that's the low road to the left where it represents the life that you're going to have forever. And remember, you're young, but if you continue on that path, that's the life that you'll have. So now I want you to do is, at your fork in the road, I want you to take a minute and actually step down to the left road, the low road. Okay? Remember, we're going to come back from the low road eventually. But right now I want you to really feel the biggest most important way, the key way that we change beliefs is by feeling the pain.
Yeah.
You know, you have to understand the reality of the pain of keeping that limiting belief in order to experience the pleasure. And pain is the strongest motivator there is to make it change. It really is. So in order for you need to get a real solid picture of the reality of the pain before you can see the pleasure of it. And before you can like, you know what, I'm fed up with this limiting belief. This pain is too much. I need to change it. And you get sick of it. So stepping down to the low road, tell me what kind of things are in the way. You're maybe passing garbage along the road and you're just passing, imagine it being kind of cloudy, it's overcast, and I want you to tell me what kinds of things are on that road that represent things that will happen in your life or your life if you continue that road.
It's basically just repetition of, the first thing I think of is being upset and going and grabbing the chocolate ice cream out of the fridge and just eating straight out of the carton.
Which is what you do sometimes now.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't want to speak, so I'm just gonna shove my mouth full of junk.
Right.
Even though I feel miserable doing it because I know it's not good for me.
And you know that
it's making me feel worse.
Right, and you also know that when you feed yourself, when you're emotionally eating, you're eating to fill a void, and you're eating for a reason besides from being hungry.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So stuffing yourself with ice cream, getting into that silly, stupid, negative pattern that it's like, when is this ever going to change?
Mm-hmm.
What else do you see?
Just laziness.
Mm-hmm.
And just being miserable in that because I don't want to be lazy. I don't want it to be pointless. And yet everything just feels pointless.
Right. There's no focus, right?
None.
No direction.
None. Everything just seems pointless. Picking a direction seems pointless.
And when you wake up in the morning on this low road, you don't feel happy really to start the day, right?
I don't want to wake up. I absolutely just want to close my eyes and go back to sleep and sleep until I'm dead and then sleep some more.
Okay. And your relationship with Dennis is probably still toxic and miserable. There's no respect with the relationship, right?
And that seems pointless too because relationships are supposed to build each other up and
Right.
I don't build him up in my not caring and he doesn't build me up because he's frustrated with the state I'm in.
Right. So I want you to feel that for a minute, feel that again, that emotion. And along this road that you're imagining, I want you to create pictures of everything that we talk about too. So creating a picture of this toxic environment with Dennis. And, eating the chocolate ice cream. What other visions do you see? What other pictures do you see down this road? What about when you're your job? Is it just it's not going anywhere? You don't have really much motivation?
As much as I love her, I see myself being my mother, doing some menial job that I really don't like that much, not enjoying who I work for and with, just saying someday I'd like to have, someday.
Someday, it's always just someday, right?
Even
it's always
at
someday.
60, someday.
And you don't respect that, right? Because it's like, well, when is it ever going to be one day? It's always someday.
Someday stays someday.
Right.
There's no definitive.
Right, and you know that being an outside source, but being in the state, if you're continuing this path, you would be the same way, right?
Absolutely.
And what about, things like your physical appearance? Would this depression and, would it manifest?
I grow in the wrong direction. I'm sure I would become wrinkly and just my body basically would show the despair.
Right, it
because
would.
It manifests itself.
It would.
And then that would just feed it more because I would have one more thing to be unhappy about.
Of course. Good. So I want you to hold that picture. And now I want you to fast forward 15 years from then, down that road. And tell me what you see 15 years in the picture. 15 years of going down the low road. The low road of holding on to this limiting belief and never making that change.
What do I see? I don't see so
45.
much as I feel, like just so depressed, just so miserable. And there's nothing, I wouldn't have kids because I wouldn't end up having kids if I continue in this state.
You may lose altogether,
Whoever I'd be with, and I thought of that too, like if he decided he couldn't handle it, there would be some other schmuck who thought he could save me or want to play the white knight, and he would come in and take care of me and enable me to stay miserable.
Okay. Now, and you're 45. Now fast forward another 15 years, and you're 60. Can you imagine how you feel if you're 60 and you just continue the same path, never making that change?
I can't imagine it. Like, I'm so determined to change that I can't imagine.
It would be gross, right? Try to imagine it. Maybe you'd have a cat or a couple cats.
I just would be so lonely.
It's important to think of all the pros and the cons though. So is there anything in this state now, I want you to take this emotion and I want you to actually, when I count from 3 to 1, turn the volume up on it. So be a little bit more depressed, okay? And it's gonna go, it's okay because we're gonna erase it afterwards. But I want you to really feel how you feel when you're in that state, and if you continue down the path, okay? Expand it, so kind of turn it from low volume to high volume. 3, 2, 1. Expand the emotion. Feel where it's feeling. Where does it hurt the most?
Right here.
Right here, yeah. Doesn't feel very good, right?
No, it's empty.
And is there, being in this state, is there anything that you gain from this, from being in this state?
No.
No, right? Does it serve any purpose for you, any higher purpose?
No.
What about self-protection?
Well, protecting me from what? Like,
Right.
I may have thought I was taking the safe road, but ultimately I end up losing out on everything.
Right.
Instead of just the bad.
It's more like self-deterioration, right?
Yeah.
Self-mutilation. Okay, so it's obviously not doing anything for you, especially when you see it from the bird's eye view of being 60 years old. It's like, so what I want you to do is kind of float up above that picture as Joy now. Joy now. I want you to float up above it and look at Joy 60 years old with the cats if you had gone that road. And you're looking down and seeing a little picture of Joy at 60 years old, miserable and depressed. What would you say looking down on this, looking down there now, what would you say?
It's not too late. Change
Right.
now before
Change.
it's the next 10 years.
Change, you idiot, right? Like, what are you doing? Why did you get like this? Right? All you had to do was make a little change when you're back in your 20s, you know? Just a little change, but put some effort into it and realize that you have the power to change, right? That's all you had to do. When you look at yourself and say that?
Yeah.
So you're feeling miserable. We've realized that there's no benefit to this, right? There is no positive gain. There's no secondary purpose for this feeling this way and for staying on this path and holding on to this limiting belief, right? Now, and there's just, why is it absurd too to hold on to this limiting belief?
Well, because the only reason would be to be safe, but what I'm creating isn't safety.
Right. What is it?
Despair. I
Right,
mean,
misery.
it's just so empty.